scriptures coming out of your own mouth is the most incredible manhood that has ever walked the earth. A cast should be made of your scrotum, and it should be studied, for upon it is a celestial pattern which conveys all the intelligence of human history. You can see the JFK assassination where my left testicle and my right testicle come together. The birth of Christ is somewhere near my prostate. Don't worry, heaven laughs with you. Heaven laughs with you. And always remember that he who laughs last laughs after everyone else has already laughed. I love it when a plan comes together. I love it when a flan comes together. We should have a cooking show for the A-Team. And Hannibal says, did I say cannibal? I love it when a flan comes together. And BA will be like, Hannibal, you're always making up witty sounding phrases like you got yourself like some kind of cunty education. But we all know you're just a cunt. You lines is written by some white nigger over there. George Papad indeed. There's no papad for you. Who are these strangers that attended my mental development? Dun 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 dun. They must well have bells ringing with angels floating down from the heavens. Dun 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 dun. And they show pictures of the characters. There's Murdoch, crazy Murdoch, in his aviator jacket, and then there's Face Man, played by Dirk Benedict or Kirk Benedict or something. And it's like, what a fucking ponce that name sounds like. Dun dun dun. And they've got like whatever the girl of the week is. Dun dun, Amy or something. Dun 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 dun. And there's B. Baracus. I don't fly, fool. Don't put blood of that crazy motherfucker in me. It's making me crazy. And he's like, come on, Murdoch. You know, we're the same now. I'm Crazy Murdoch because that's my character. I'm Dwight Schultz. Woo. And then George Papard comes along and says, come on, B.A. We know we'd never make you fly. We love you too much. Oh, yeah. All right, Hannibal. But I didn't like the last time and the time before that. And I'm on to you guys now. I could beat the fuck out of you in a second with one of my gold chains, but I'm going to give you another chance because I want to have a healthier relationship with my white master. Where does this shit come from, man? Where does this shit come from? I'm too good for this shit. I'm too good for this shit. This shit is good. This shit is green. This is stank. This is fucking pink kush, motherfucker. Pink kush. Pink kush. Pink kush. Pink kush. I want something pink on my dink before the sun goes down. I'll give her some butter and corn on the cob. You know what I'm saying? There's always something vaguely sexual about taking the corn and you rub it in a dish of butter, you know, and it gets all wet, and then you're like, maybe you start really slow, but it's like, you start just like nattering on it like a squirrel. And then some girl in the corner at your family reunion is like looking, going, wow, he's got good technique. And then you see her and she's like subconsciously putting the end of the corn in her mouth and sucking on it. And you're like, you start eating a little faster. And some gay guy's looking at you going, now I'm thinking about taking a try at this. I'm going to take a knock at this guy. And then she's looking at him and going, oh, fuck, he's probably gay. And then you're going, no. And you look at him like with fierce intensity in your eyes, and he's like, ooh, game is on. I'm your Huckleberry. Then you look back at her and you look weak and congested and you throw your shoulders up like, I can't help it. This is what happens to me. I'm a loser. And she looks away and she just walks away and she forgets she ever met you. And that's why you've never had sex. You should have locked eyes with her while she had her mouth around your representative cock / corn on the cob. The fact that she's your second cousin doesn't matter. This will be the first naked woman you've ever seen. In my how-to DVDs for young men banging cousins in their family, I explain these things. And also that the convenience of a broom closet or a massage room with a lock on the other side can be quite helpful in initiating coitus. Also, if your family tends to find itself surrounded by alcohol, or the sacramental wine, as some people know it. Remember, it'll make a good story at your first child's 8th birthday. While your mom's birth certificate has the same last name as your dad. You find it one day in the broom closet, of all places. Virginia Steele, born January 1962. Your brain is working away at the cosmic intelligence of a biblical character, and you're like, and he saw that it was good. God is always making anatomically impossible decisions. Creation just seems... The idea that creation is so full of bloodshed because someone ate the wrong fucking apple is such an insult to human intelligence that it just makes me want to become a Christian. You know? My brain just like, you gotta emulate this shit. It's like child abuse. The child automatically emulates and protects the predator. It's like, I want to protect God. I'm like, yes, definitely, God is good. God is good, definitely God's good. God never did anything wrong. It's all completely makes sense now. Because, that's a scary fucking thing. This is what it's like to listen to a Satanist, a druid, a witch, and a warlock. Sounds like a children's book. The Druid, the Witch, and the Warlock. This book is dedicated to all the people who can suck my dick. And in brackets, which are not children, you disgusting bastard. Okay, that's enough of that. Landon, you're so evil. I'm evil. I'm as evil as a 15-year-old boy could be evil, which is not very evil, especially when I was 15. Damn, I wish I'd done more evil. The worst thing I ever did was accidentally, I have to say, light a trash can on fire outside my school. I saw it glowing in the late Saturday, Sunday. I went back to school, but it blocked out of my mind. It's like, everything's fine. No, I didn't do anything. You're sitting in class, and then for a moment, maybe I would have allowed my mind as this passive, shy boy in the class in the school, and just to think, 12 hours ago, I lit a garbage can on fire, and none of these people know it. I hope I let myself savor that for a second. At least. I don't think I did. That's why I never got laid. This girl named Kelly wanted to take me to the square dance, and I'm like, she didn't even bother asking me personally. She waited until everyone was around, and I'm sitting in a desk, and she's like, had somebody come and ask me for her, and then very publicly so everyone can hear. And everyone fucking knew that this was going on, and I'm sitting in my desk going, when is this going to end? When is this going to end? This is torture, this is torture, this is torture. So there was no positive association to what was going on at all. I felt stalked. Without a fucking doubt. And she wasn't the first girl in elementary school to stalk me. And this is now slowly coming to my mind as a man who's just been numbed most of his life by women's aggressive energy toward me. Like, holy fuck. I was a born virgin, man. I mean, it's just there's nothing about me that wants to be touched by these creatures. I don't know what's wrong with them. Why they won't talk normally to me. And on one hand, you might entertain the fantastical notion that my seed is particularly special in some way, or you might entertain the notion that I'm a particularly impotent human being. Almost the converse. And this is what they sound like. This is what it sounds like from a virgin. Dun, 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 dun. This is what it sounds like when the doves cry. Dun, 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 dun. That sounds so sick. Like when the doves cry, it's like when the pussy farts. I'd like to live to hear a pussy fart. That would be cool. And she'd be like all embarrassed and shit, and we're like, "Don't worry, it broke the ice." I think it might be able to penetrate like Ice Station Zebra. You're like picking away at the ice. I'm like, you're a little cold, honey. A little frigid, but it's okay. I'm sorry. It's just that I really hate men and I don't know why I'm doing this. Don't you know? There's a lot of sexual confusion these days. Is it going around? Is it contagious? Should I be worried that there are men and women who in many cases don't know whether they like men or women? Or both? Or neither? Or no one or nothing? Or just none of the children, male or female, though they may yet be permitted to be, given the raunch and immoral compulsion to break them up 2 by 2 before they board the motherfucking ark of civilization to Timbuk fucking no man's land, like fucking Shangri-La, hang my fucking neck on one of the altars of the fucking dead and give me something to do before it becomes as true as a fucking grave every fucking second of my depraved fucking existence. And J.K. Rowling didn't put that in Harry Potter's mouth. I did. Imagine if Harry Potter talked like that. He's like 17 and he's getting a little dark and existential. It's like children are reading going, "Mommy, something's wrong. What is it, honey? I'm learning something from this book. It's evil." Millions. J.K. Rowling wrote a book that millions of children probably read, in terms of like, say, one reading being a child, millions of children reading it, movies and millions. And that book is not capable of actually respecting and helping a child's brain to learn to be a better thinker on any level, but actually sucking out what could be called the genuinely magical nature of a child's mind and representing it and asking it or forcing it to represent itself into a realm that is beset with crime and moral and magical disturbance. And children losing their parents to death and murder and being vaguely accused of the crime and set upon a quest of nothing less than more than to try to acquit themselves of this by being able to navigate through variously dangerous and awful places which no parent would ever really permit their child to go, but that something terrible had happened to their parents. And the entire premise of the book is based on this fairly psychotic theater of the mind, which is an altar, in a sense, of the mind, where, guess what? Something is being sacrificed. But it's all, you lowers your inhibitions, it's very exciting, and it gives you a wonderful tale to absorb yourself in, like a very deadly opera. Should I go on? Next subject. Paraphylactics. No, that's not what it's prophylactics. Paraphylactics are prophylactics that spontaneously go on fire. But prophylactics... Prophylactics. No, if I do ever have sex, should I really put latex over my cock? Even if she wants to do it herself, which I would invite her to do. I mean, if you can get that thing on that huge dick without discomfiting me in any way, you can do what you want with it. You know what I'm saying? It'll be yours for the night. It'll be like the wrong end of the hammer, doing things hammers were never meant to do. I like the way you talk. You're funny. I like a woman that laughs when I'm putting it to her. That's what I call my penis, the great comedian. You think it's one thing, then it's another. Objects in mirror may be larger than they appear. And she's like, I hope so. Look, honey, if you look at it from the side and it's banging up against the side of your eyeball, it seems really big. Now close your eyes and pretend I'm your ex-boyfriend who had a seriously huge dick. Don't worry, it doesn't humiliate me at all. I want you to be happy. And then you grab like an Italian sausage and just like, oh, you're right. That's amazing. Just keep doing that. Your dick is hanging flaccid and you're like, oh, doing your shopping list for tomorrow. And just like, oh, I love you, Dexter. And Dexter's her old boyfriend's name. Don't worry, it's all right. Dexter, I love you. That other cunt means nothing to me. She looks back after she comes and goes, oh, it's you. I should do self-esteem workshops for men. So even this guy he'd be like a training video, and then Dexter comes and sees me, and it's like, Dexter came to see me 6 years ago, a broken man in a relationship that was utterly abusive, and it reduced him to tears night after night at the diminutive size of his penis, even when engorged. You know what I said to Dexter? You've got to fuck smaller people. So we found him some dwarves. We found him dwarf women who really like him because in dwarf world, he's actually bigger than most of their male companions. He's like Gulliver's Travels. A simple solution to an age-old problem. A man whose dick is not big enough for his woman. Next subject, topic. Oh, God. Topic or not topic? Oh, yes, the ocean's going out. Makes me want to scream and shout. The ocean's going out. Makes me want to scream and shout. I want to be very dramatic in everything that I say. When I get home, I'm going to make French fries, and they're going to be hot. And they're going to be a nice color. They're going to be brown. And then they're going to be rich and salty. And then I'm going to eat them very dramatically and very sensuously. I'm going to place each one on my tongue and roll it around like a woman's stiff nipple in a cold wind. Inside, a millimeter of cotton on a t-shirt that says, I gave you my rib. You give me your nipple. In a feminist Bible, it'd be like, and then God created the woman, and then he took one of her nipples, because she had 3 to begin with, and created Adam. So Adam really just was made from a nipple. To this day, people treat them like tits. Oh. Oh, I had 3 new bush tits. Oh, I just popped a zit on my head. That was amazing. It was really hard. And then I finally got it. I was like, shit, it really bothers me. I don't get a lot of zits anymore, but thankfully, but that was like, I hate shit. I grew up with that. 16 to like fucking 40. My whole life. Zits. I hate zits. I never see another zit again. I see people with no zits on their face, and I think, I want to be you. I want your face for a day. Ugh. I do. I want your face for a day. I just want no zits for a day. Jesus. I want to be 12 again. No zits. no major physical injuries. Not that you can't live carefully and and all that, but watch out, man. My channel is an anti-women channel because it's dawning on the growing of my brain that women are responsible for a lot more accidents and violence to men than we have probably ever fully recognized, or since whatever it started beginning in human history, which I think at some point it must have. Is a kind of a cult-like, orgiastic, like the world is groomed, I think, to sacrifice men, and men are groomed to accept it without any recourse to reason or remedy, other than it just seems to need to be done. And I think when men were going off to war, they were just going off to whatever needed to be done. That tide's going to go out now. People, this is a great day. It's a great day. I'm like the commander of nature, and I have found a day that's not too cold. The tide is going out. It's amazing to stay here all day. How do you do it? How do you stay in one place all day without really doing anything? Even Mike Brady would make blueprints in his beautiful house. Did anyone else get the feeling that Mike Brady designed his own house? It seemed like a well-designed house, didn't it? Did you know that Mike Brady was played by Anthony Hopkins, who was a different alias, essentially? Mike Reeves or whatever. It's very satisfying when you pop a zit. It became like a compulsion of mine. I mean, I had to pop them, but it was just like, sometimes they're painful, sometimes it's just like, it became like my face is like a max. I should have, like, it's like a maxi pad, for Christ's sake. I mean, it's like some sort of mid-surgical operation every day of my fucking life. I mean, I had serious acne through high school. Take your face in high school, okay? Rip it off and put on the mask of a burn victim for the rest of your fucking life. And try thinking about asking a girl out on a date. It's like, I felt like that guy in that movie, what's his name, Rocky? He's like completely ugly. He's got some kind of deforming disease. He's like, and when I was like 15, I was like a peachy skinned, cute little boy. Then I was like burn victim. It just sort of came on. I was just like, holy shit. And like nothing, doctors, went to a dermatologist. He just gave me like 20 little free samples. It was my first acquaintance with medical incompetence. Like, how can you call yourself a dermatologist and not have a treatment for acne? Jesus Christ. But so I just dealt with it myself, like everything else. You wash your face, and that's about it. Keep your face clean. And I had no idea about like what food I was eating. That was never in my household, in my world. I honestly, maybe I should have figured it out myself, but you know, could have eliminated sugars, I guess. But more deeply than that, I lived in an abusive home, and I had been physically abused. So there's your acne, easily. I mean, it had the effect of masking me from the rest of the world. It protected me, really. It said, you got me, you win. My dad defaced me. He stole my honor. He took my face. And it continued on to this day. Like, my father had and has a sustained compulsion to deface me, to slander me, along with my sisters and brothers. Like, they've never learned to treat me any other way. It's normal to them. Like a colonialist who, just treats somebody who's lower than them. British people are really good at outranking you. And my family was no different. It was like a feudal society. Imagine an incompetent tyrant, some kind of retard, feeling they can outrank you. And the only reason they can dominate you is because they're so fucking sick. I mean, you do try to get them to stop, they physically abuse you. A family, so-called Christian family with alcoholism, that is overrun by such septic behavior is eminently worthy of study. And I will never be adequate of, fully exhausting all of the useful knowledge that can be pulled out of my own family, which day by day by day certainly wouldn't have been seen nearly as tragic or violent or horrible as I make it out to be. But that's just it. A home can seem like nothing is happening, and yet somebody is being disintegrated. The state of affairs is simply not conducive to the continued well-being of this member of your family, and they are being mortified. It may be that the very things which might seem to mortify them are things that motivate you, and you may not notice, for instance, the precipitous amount of ambivalence or aggression that might be shown to a member of the family who seems weak, or to whom the family directs, quite paradoxically, their own weakness and scapegoats them. And that's just the way it's going to be biologically, socially, as long as human beings, even wonderful human beings like my own family, live under inappropriate, wrong, stressful, or somehow war-torn human, social, psychological conditions that are passed on through behavior for generations. That's just it. It's just going to be that way. It's just going to be that way. And I live with that knowledge. You may not think I know very much, but I live with that knowledge every fucking day. And I try to keep being joyful about life, knowing that this is getting passed on all over the world. Right? You try to be joyful about that. Try to be happy about that. Right? And I get attacked. Almost everything I try to do in any public sense on the internet, I get attacked, I get stalked, I get sexually assaulted or stalked by every fucking woman I ever meet or whoever knows me. And anyone who even just sees me repeatedly anywhere, I get sexually assaulted every fucking time. It happened again within a 2-week period of the last time it happened. Ugh. I'm so glad I got that zip. Ugh. Pop away, baby, pop away. Pop away, baby, pop away. It's a song for acne. Pop away, baby, pop away. Pop away, baby, pop away. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Pop away, baby, pop away. Ah, 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 ah. I've got some kind of ugly thing upon my face, and it hurts. It kind of stings. Gotta get this ugly thing on my face without making myself look disgraced. Ow, ow, ow. Look at that person with all kinds of shit all over their face. I don't want to touch them. It looks gross. What is oozing out of their skin? Ooh, ooh, ooh. But I still think they're nice, even if their face has a kind of lice. I feel bad for him, really. He looks like a burn victim. Boom, boom, boom. Actually, when I was in high school, this girl I didn't even know came up to me and asked me if I'd been in a fire. You know? I was too young and naive to know whether that came with any guile, but I do know this: women aren't very nice to me. So I didn't take it personally, like she really wanted to upset me or anything. It's just like I was clearly someone who was used to being abused. I mean, her question itself had a pedigree into the violence and aggression that had caused the acne in the first place. So I lost face. I didn't have a face for high school, so like I've never had sex because I find it really hard on a certain level, except on a fantasy level, to think of a woman being able to be attracted to me. And even as I say it, I know that any woman who heard me say that would not listen to me. Their ears just close because that's how what women do. They don't listen to things they don't want to. So I'll say it again. I don't understand how a woman can be attracted to me. My brain doesn't understand that. Imagine someone who doesn't understand that. I have no experience with that. Something like that. You know, to me, a relationship between a man and a woman is like as complicated to me as going to the moon. And again, women don't listen to me. They won't listen to me. They just don't hear that, and so it's never going to happen. If a woman can't listen to me, you just yeah. If you don't want to listen to someone, then like you obviously don't aren't interested in me, right? I'm telling you something really important. That's the most important thing. Why, what for, why that is. That's a reality of my life, right? That's a Trump Tower worth of storytelling. Why that is, right? If I ignored that, I wouldn't be a healthy person. And when someone else ignores that, who wants to have a relationship with me, they're telling me they're not a healthy person. I'm like a child saying no, and the woman is just saying yes. I have as much knowledge as a 13-year-old boy in how to have a relationship with anyone on any level. So, don't even start with me. I have no idea. And economically, I'm not even positioned to do that. You would say that I'm an inestimably um, unworthy mate. I've put absolutely no work into being a suitable partner for anyone. I have literally no money to put to that endeavor, and I don't plan on it. I would like to generate more money, though. I would like to generate more money. I think that as the vision unfolds, I will. I gotta generate more money. If I want to do anything I really want to do over the next 25 to 50 years, I'm gonna have to generate some money. But I want to live a long time too. So I'm 48, so I haven't spent the first 48 of my years really doing a lot of work generating money, and I virtually never had to work. What happens if I try? So I kind of want to use my mind. I want to start using it to generate money in all kinds of ways. How can I generate money? Considering how much my flesh and blood is worth. And I think a great way to do that would be to use your flesh and blood for what it's worth. Show people that you're worth something. Show people that their flesh and blood is worth something. You know? as you live and breathe. Take it from someone who's been very reflective. Very reflective all of his life. Life is about moments. It's not about really even being in the moment. It's about moments. Now is a great moment in nature. It is. And I get it. But I think it needs to be talked about more personally. Like, the moment's good when you feel safe. The moment is a safe place. You're never in the moment if the moment isn't safe. Right? How could you really be in the moment? Now, when people are in danger, they're often really in the moment, aren't they? Time can kind of like slow down. So, well, okay, there's a deer. That was the sound. A deer was coming down. Shit. They were so quiet. I just caught them. Wow. As I kept looking behind me, right? I was like, who's that? Who's that? Who's that? I was like, that's a person. That's a deer. That's a person-animal crossover. And they're just standing there in the breeze. You're so beautiful. Oh, it's so beautiful. Huh. So cute. I wish I could meet a woman like a deer. I could mount her in the bathroom, on the pool table, and all these really uncomfortable places that people say that sex is really good. You notice it's always really uncomfortable places. It's like, this is so uncomfortable. Yeah, that's what makes it good. You know, because then we can tell people we did it, and they're like, wow, it's so hot. And we're like, yeah, it was. Her snatch was like boiling. My dick still has scorch marks, and she's like, silly, don't say that. But yeah, really, it was hot. He's a dude. He was a gentleman. He was a complete gentleman. Well, I was orgasming for the third time, and he was sucking on my left tit. He was completely noble. I still saw him as my English professor. He was never once descended to the pure animal level that some men go to, leaving teeth marks on my ample bosom. And never have I met a woman who could use the word bosom in such an attractive and yet very modest way. Thank you, sir. You don't have to call me sir anymore, but I like it. Doctor. Yes, young lady. Ooh, I love it when you call me that. Does someone need a spanking? Spanking. Jesus. When did it come down to spanking? Since when did spanking become arousing? That's weird. The word dildo is very interesting. Dildo. It's got the word ill in it. Dill. Like the pickle, maybe. I don't know. There's the dodo bird. It's like the dildo sounds like a kind of bird. What it really is like a latex or rubber replica of a veiny, erect male penis. Possibly with a scrotum or something at the end where you can stick it to the wall or your dashboard or something and fuck yourself or the floor. Your dad opens the garage door opener. You're like, oh, fuck. And sitting there waving in the wind. The sun coming in from window, your pussy juice is glistening. It's like, Dad, it wasn't what you think. The dad's not even looking. He's like, I'm just gonna go home and have a wine, and whatever that thing is will be gone when I go back in there next month. I can't picture my daughter needing to do that to herself. And her brother is just in the next room. Oh, man. I did not want to have sex with my sister. I haven't spoken to my sister. I haven't had a conversation with her probably ever, but I don't think it's like we've really been simpaticos since probably like grade 7 or 8. So it's like 15 years old, and I'm 48 now, so it's like 30 years. I think that's pretty much a done deal. It's scary. I wish it didn't turn out the way. It's like a car accident. It's like you don't plan for it to happen. But I just took enough violence. I mean, it's just like, if anyone has a good reason to stay away from his family, I do. I just had enough. You can only take so much, At some point, like, your shoulder's dislocating this way and that. It's like, oh, fuck. I mean, what am I up against here? What do you want me to do? I have to, like, fucking give my whole family psychiatry so they can not fucking have to beat the shit out of me. That's not me. The sound of the eagles. You don't know what I know. You don't know what I know. Oh. Deer coming through here. So you're not making memories. You're making heavens. Ways that a kind of celestial mother and father, in ways that you might like to credit your own mother and father, gave birth not just to you as a child, but to a heaven created when they came together in love. The fact that humans can be relied upon, I think, seemingly to kind of assume in their idea of love, or I think we should assume in love and creation that it is so that a mother and father joined like one heaven and another and made another heaven called you. So that you were born for the same reason life was born. You and life have the same reason to be, the same genesis. The same genesis as your mother and father. The reason for life, the beauty, the bliss, the celestial grandeur, the whole shit. So that being in the moment is like living in the purpose of life. A moment that is attributed with, need it be said, with the most inestimable value in that we can share with life itself, of the nature of consciousness. As we live and breathe. So, the meaning of life as we live. There should be like a concept of that. The meaning of life as we talk, as we live, as we eat, as we feel, as we think, as we fight. Right? A great mythology is attributed to warfare that is of some mythological level. Peace must also be mythological. It should be as we live and breathe. So, the world I came into from 3 years old to 19 years old was more difficult and dangerous than coming in from my mother's womb into a hospital in Rochford, England. Yet only one of them is called my birth. And the other one feels more like death. You could see, in a sense, I think just based on what happens between 3 and 21 in a lot of people's lives, how they really don't think that they were born from heaven. Because your second birth is certainly not heavenly. It might be a case for suggesting that when people don't believe that they're born from heaven, that their childhood has been abusive. It has not sustained the song of heaven in the concussions of change and rebirth. People sent to their childhood as one of like almost black and white. They are not children anymore. Is there a special day for that? Is there an international day of celebrating the beautiful chrysalis moment when childhood ended? And you are no longer a child. And how that's like supposed to be like a really good thing. But it can also be the time during which it solidified the end of your right mind. Magical parts, feeling, not just emotion, but the things that contributed to some of the most simple and easy to miss, but quintessential values in your consciousness. From a ride in the car on a rainy day to going to the beach, children enjoy simple things as long as they're with their family. But into this perfect idea of modern family life, the stresses of years, the stresses of strains upon people's minds when they are children, that they have sustained, that they have carried, that they have ignored, and that motivate them and get delivered and distributed as certain chronic or acute stresses remain unchanged and fossilized into the daily life. There is conflict. People's needs aren't being met, which is just sort of bound to be the case in any family in the world. We're not really a very delicate species anymore. We have so many industrial demands on us, roles, responsibilities, It's like, my God, no one gets a chance to be human anymore, at least not without alcohol or religion or lots of television and video games. And my God, you hardly ever get a feeling that anyone thinks that the most important part of their life is doing nothing. Unless they're in some kind of fucking ashram. Everyone always needs some sort of big, spectacular reason to be somebody. Otherwise, like, holy fuck, life will just pass you by. But I'll tell you what, it's going to pass you by either way. Right? It can either pass you by and you can practice having this kind of mind or not. Because you don't need it for jobs, you don't need it for wars, but you need it for the biggest job of all and the biggest war of all, the war to stay alive. When all the bullshit ends. Because people's death is where all the bullshit of the world goes to die. And it destroys you so that it doesn't have to be destroyed. Bullshit will kill you so the bullshit can live. I've never seen any great bullshit, much less the bullshit that people work for, that doesn't want to fucking live at your expense. Have you ever noticed that? And you might be able to keep narcissists off your back better than I can, but there's this whole fucking world that is very fucking narcissistic, is very codependent with human beings, and takes every opportunity to suggest that you have to do even more than you already do to make up for the fact that you're even born in the fucking first place. And that ain't fucking right. That's the title of my memoir. That ain't fucking right. And they're like, why did you dedicate the book to Oprah Winfrey? It's because you see that chick in the 80s? Man, she's wobbling around Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen like she's never seen a burger she couldn't eat. Jesus. Yet she's got the confidence of what? Oprah Winfrey. I wish I had his Oprah Winfrey. I'd be like, hey everyone, hey y'all, how you doing? Yeah, you know, looking good today. Feeling fine myself. Oprah Winfrey, you should think everything she's saying as Boss Hogg on the Dukes of Hazzard. She's like a wealthy white colonial fucking tyrant. I don't know. I just made that up. Scopico, at your service. And it's like these characters in these 80s TV shows or 70s, like they really talked weird. You know, Alice, boom, one day, right to the moon. He was like threatening to like punch her. And like, you know, you look at, say, modern shows like Friends, and then you see pow, right to the moon. And he's like, and you see something like more sophisticated, like All in the Family with Archie Bunker or whatever. And it's like, who may as well have been Bing Crosby or Adolf Hitler, right? Really interesting stuff. And more complicated racism and things like that. A white man trying to be polite around black people, but just not really understanding like what it's all about. Why it's such a big deal, you know? What's the big deal? Like, I have no trouble with black people, you know, and then obviously has trouble. And yet, you know, the trouble does give a scent of having been instigated by something that isn't really properly situated within this somewhat socially awkward older white male. Who, in many respects, acts more like a female than a male, if you ask me. Archie Bunker does. He's way too opinionated. About all the wrong things. You know? You'll notice, like, no one on TV ever seems to be opinionated about the government. So, among all the things that could be emphasized in through television programming, and certainly still funny, still artistic, still ironic, and still satirical, there are a wide range of things you'll never see on television or in movies. And you think, wow, that's sophistry, because you could say that about anything. It's like, it's true. And I'm not trying to make a slam down argument there, but it just gives you pause for thought. There are, in fact, I'm not really making an argument, I'm more like stating a fact. There are just a lot of things, necessarily, and for other reasons, I think, or that reveal intelligence to the selection of humor on television from all of the jokes that, say, one could potentially tell. And how it, you know, forever, it's always emphasized gender fluidity in all times, and sex orientation fluidity, and the confusions that come from being kind of gay but trying not to be, or this, that, or the other, and just cuckolding men because you have this constant attraction to men who in turn not really sure if they're straight or gay. And to cuckold a man is almost like to out a man as a homosexual. That a woman may not have to love you that much because maybe you're not really a complete man. Or vice versa. And it may be true or it may not. But it's abusive either way. And so, like the Bible, like TV is positing a world that can't possibly really be coherent except on TV. TV tells us about a world that can only really be peaceful on TV. If the things that are on TV that you can't even really notice but are very prevalent are all natural and normal. Even though in and of themselves they are never the subject or topic of the TV, but are like the medium of every single show. I'll be getting into some uncomfortable areas, perhaps. Dun, 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 dun. A very potent opening to a show, eh? Right? That's a very definitive song, isn't it? Right? And it says everything the show says. There's a lot of difficulty and sadness and ennui at a mobile mass unit in the Korean War. But there is an order overall to human sacrifice. And it's like it's God's racket. God owns it. And yours is to do the best you can and just heroically sort of stay the course. Things you don't understand, but you just got to give your entire life to. You can joke about it. We can commiserate about it. We can tell jokes. We can make TV shows. Generations can come together to kind of commiserate over the unfortunate but demonstrative violence of our respective governments. But never are we to deny that there is this ledger, this order overall, that is as mysterious as it is persuasively dominant from birth till death. One generation to the next, and it has its no closer ally than, in fact, the way we're treated by our mothers, and the way our fathers are treated by our mothers, and the way our fathers treat us, and the way our fathers treat our mothers, and the matrilineal genesis of, or magnification of this violence, which, that in a sense, the untimely disease and everything of the world wouldn't be possible without women, and yet, women in their ferocity have been like Captain Picard to the Borg. They've been captured by the Borg. Women are captured by the sort of Borg interest, Borg-like interest, that uniform interest in man. And to hide communism or capitalism or socialism, what you're really hiding is the uniform but sophisticated yet diverse interest that the royalty or the black royalty have on the human race and have had for the 1,000 years that basically we have had the 2,000-year reign of this entire global racket called the financial industrial complex, which is basically God. And all the personalities of famous people make up the schizophrenic complex of God. So it's going to be a schizophrenic world, and God is going to be the top schizophrenic. And no money should be made, but reality should be twisted into a DNA molecule whose various sequences will explain all the suffering of the world eventually. And so don't worry and just keep on as usual. Imagine if I was being interviewed by some sort of famous radio station or magazine. I was like, so how would you describe your work? Are you telling me you haven't done any research on my work and you want me to do it for you? Yes. I would describe it as an encyclopedic tour de force of the disaffected and misanthropic leanings of a mind which has had too much time to itself. And whose sexual orientation could be described as petrified of anything with a vagina. Even a man's ass crack, which is vaguely vaginal. So basically, I have a crevice to crack, no admittance policy. My favorite color is blue, but also green. And, I'd like to have another favorite color, but it's just blue is just in my brain. I've got blue eyes, so it's like, blue is my favorite color. Because, like, blue can be, like, all different kinds of blue. That's what I like about blue. But then I guess any color, like, you can have all kinds of green. That's cool, but I get a little scared having green as a favorite color, because then I think one day I'm going to be trapped in something really green, and I'll be, like, in this green reality, and I'll be like, I wish I was in a blue reality. But then if my reality was just different shades of blue, and I think, oh man, I bet you all the cool people are in the green place. I should have gone to the green place. Why did I pick blue? All these people are so cold and blue all the time, and there's all these negative associations with the color blue. But you got robin's egg blue, and you got blue balls. That's got to be good. You're like, hey man, if you're frustrated enough that your balls hurt, that's like, to me, that's first base in my world. I would go online to my geeky friends that don't exist and be like, hey man, I got the first base. Maybe even second base, because my balls feel as large as her tits. It feels like her tits are touching my balls. And if I touch my balls, even though they hurt, it's only because her breasts hurt, because they're already filled with so much milk for our children. It's like my milk goes into her, and then her milk goes into them. When she's sitting on my dick, I am creating the mother of my children. She's auditioning for the role, and I'm like, you are now a mother. I give you my wand and my blessing. And as it spurts into her uterus, I'm like, I pronounce thee the mother of my children. All your actions and virtues and all the sacrifices that you make to them will be as a commissaire of the powerful value of my huge cock. You shall be my bitch for life, the queen of the house indeed, responsible for all of its delegations, and I shall retire to my man cave and watch police brutality videos so that I can get my testosterone up enough to want to go around the block and scare old people. That's what I want to do. I made you what you are. I anointed you with my magical wand. Those breasts were beautiful, but they were never so beautiful as when they were sat upon my dick. Your vagina wasn't doing anything until it met my penis. When I parted those fair waters, I knew you will never be the same. You have been introduced to the wand of ages. I have written an encyclopedia of life inside your tender womb. Now you shall grow with the life inside of you. My children for generations change the world with their reluctance to seek gainful employment, and in every way improve their minds to no end of absolute uselessness to their fellow man. And one day people will listen, my great-great-grandchild, and they'll be like, wait a second, I think these people have figured something out. We'll have the tradition of the star-spangled silence. And someone will come into the zendo and they will be like, why is it so quiet in here? We have been doing nothing for 1,000 years. Except eating and crapping and reading David Spangler. Wow, can I join? Sure. Do you have any money? Because we've run out of toilet paper. What have you been using? Oh, well, the Christians are always kind enough to drop off Bibles. Don't even say it. I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear it. That's the first trauma, which is I've been accustomed. When I came into their dojo, their zendo, as they called it, and I was introduced to the fact that they had reduced themselves to using the King James Bible to wipe their asses with in the 100 acres of forest that lay behind them, I wondered, how could this be the world's premier buttress against all the insanity of human civilization? And then it occurred to me, what if, as one of their religious tracts says, that the Bible itself was always meant to be toilet paper, and that when people discovered that, they would start coming back to their senses? This was what all the prophets had really been talking about. That Jesus had been hung on the cross in a way to show you how to put the Bible where your toilet paper usually goes. The cross is really a way to carry around a Bible. Like, pages of it could be stuck on there, and you could rip them off as necessary. Or you could plant the cross and put Bibles on it just to tell people this is a good place to take a crap. And make sure to read some of it first, because it needs to be digested by the human mind and then perfected, improved by the exercise of wiping it over your fecal matter ridden asshole. And the only concern really that it should make it dirtier than it already is. Jesus himself gave me the first Bible A's. I said, Jesus, could you give me a Bible to wipe my ass? And sure enough, a Christian handed it to me within a week. I'm like, this thing works. I am convinced that Jesus does indeed answer prayers. I think Jesus was really proud of me. I was the first person to really get it. The Christian Bible makes excellent toilet paper. In fact, when you read it before wiping your ass with it, it has a much better experience. It's feel like you really, there's things I've read in that book that have terrified me while sitting in some rainy forest somewhere. And I'm just like, the only thing you can do is just wipe your ass with it. And you're like, I will never forget the book of John, for instance. I'm like, what an apropos book. And some of the things I read in that book, and I've wiped my ass with every fucking page until there was nothing left. And sometimes I would just take an extra page just for the hell of it, even though I didn't really need to. And it changed my life. You know, it was the first thing that ever got Christians completely out of my life. You know, it's too far, it's too much, and it's wrong. Christianity is just wrong in every which way. But it's not to be like to besmirch Christians per se. It's just like it tells us in the easiest possible way everything that's wrong with the human race. Getting rid of Christians isn't going to change it. We just edify people like me if all Christian churches were burned to the ground. You know, and stop giving these fucking warlocks your money to abuse you at the altars of the world that they've concocted to save you from them, but to really suffer the destruction which they themselves deserve and is stayed off by your ability to destroy yourself. Because the people who rule the world know that they wreak their own destruction. It's just that they force you to suffer it for them. Jesus is doing nothing for you. You're fucking suffering for them. And you're killing your children for them. Why do you think anyone needs to be sacrificed? You're staving off the destruction of your enemy by killing yourself. Right? You're redirecting their fate into your flesh and blood. You're being mortified. Nobody kills people, but they're killing people because, you know, they want to pass on a destruction they don't want to succumb to. Right? So if you're a healer, you really should be processing destruction. You're processing energy that disintegrates people. You're processing all the pestilence of the world. And yet you'll see these gurus and they'll be like, oh, they're doing everything. They're taking care of all the suffering of man. They're touching you. They're hugging poor people. They're licking lepers' flesh. And it's like the human being purifies everything. But you can see what people have had to deal with when you look at children between the age of 5 and 15 and 19. You look at what happens to a lot of the young bodies get fatter and bigger and they become more aggressive and all these kinds of things. And you wonder, like, well, how do they get so big and how do they become so not feminine or cute anymore? Well, it's a reflection of the environment they're in. They're emulating their environment. They're not really being considered as children very much at all. They're being trained to be apes. And they look like it. They're exactly the way they've been trained. They suffer not very much. They take to the training, they start getting something out of it. When you start to learn how to be aggressive to other people, the people training you get happier, and you get everything you want. As long as you're doing what makes your parents happy, you feel like you're doing the right thing. Human beings don't have morals. They just do and emulate whatever they can use to survive. And they read very well. So every child, the one you like and the one you don't, has read whatever they could read of their environment, including you, and they've emulated it. Or they failed to emulate it. My mom will sometimes accuse me of bad quality she thinks my father exhibited toward her, but I'm not exhibiting a bad quality. I'm exhibiting an absolutely virtuous quality. It's just she's not in a healthy state of mind. That's all. So, the sun has dipped down a bit. It's somewhat tropical for Canada. Somewhat tropical. The tide is going out. And they'll be going out for another 2 or 3 hours, and they go a lot farther out than it is now, I dare say. At this point, it should actually start moving a little faster. It's cool watching it suck its way out. Because it should go out quite far, I think. It's actually moving out as we speak. It will reach a kind of distance from which people see that the tide receded and farther away. The sights and smells, the sounds that quell and spelled and hereafter, low and green, blue and dreaming sadly by evening. Days had long survived in song, and losses born before their time had formed, and we could not say no, no matter how we moaned, that death had ever had our breath allayed. Say that 'tis not so, that come what lie or deception man had known. My mother lay and sleep no grave could take from dawn or day. No song had ever left my mother lay, but whispered ministers that love in all mine own approved and wanted, keep mine mother sound. And even for I came out of her ground, and ne'er a child that had been so stout and beautiful as none but thine own mother most should feel. And all that was most magical and real should ne'er be stolen from her nor I. And I would feel such deep, acute regret that any hour of her life by death or death's design had kept my love or hers from thee, that words like ours had lived and lived so free. The sounds of nature, that the such as we had wanted every living of our breath, with no religion called beyond its death, I called to thee, and knew without a word that such a richness that the heavens could have keep, and not a secret, but so deep a blue, has brought the azure copper of the moon, and deeper as a dream should find the song with which the world awakens with no wrong, for knowing not my mother's name, but she pronounced the world a grace and melody, that such as mine own mother first did breathe, and hers and all her kind were first so innocent of mine, survived the grave, that no condemnation should be had, and every curse that dooms a human mind shall suffer not these minds to doom themselves, but should find some other occupation, if they should have what they call theirs, that they would not that one shred of our own voices say as much, and I have said. So saith the Son of Man, and so might he be my voice, that I should find this eagle's feather ready to employ, where none of man's flesh and blood had ever been, nor should ever be again, so employ as to divert by any mode or measure of sight or sound or play on words, from aught but the sanctity of our flesh and blood, and a worthiness from which this world entirely draws, whether it's sucking it from out of us or not. And the truth itself has set us free. It has done more than set us free, because to set something is to bring death to it. And so things that set you free really bring death to your freedom. But rather, dawning even now, not so many yawning hours of inevitable doom, which is demoralizing in ways you should not like to find enwombed within your very brain, a machine like God, which taxes what it may, and gets what it is its own, that is not even belong to thee, even as you behave as though it did, and are robbed from all that for which you work and slave, that you but toil not to know thine own mind, as something that has come from heaven itself and is pure, and is not to be stained by any mere accusation that someone may amuse themselves in convicting you of. And every wound thereof is never to be underestimated, but is always to be held in its many impressions, seem to have a kind of permanence which must be studied from within the human mind, and all the pains thereof, that we should find here and there, as a moment and a man, as a boy and as a girl, some of the greatest victory this world should ever like to have over all of its true enemies, within and without, while we conduct the greatest of peace, and acquit ourselves of the greatest of labors, and do so within such a quiet as can neither offend nor fail to persuade all of the better angels of the mind of man. So saith the Son of Man. That was great. I like saying great things in nature. It makes me feel like a man. Tide sinketh nigh. Methinks the tide sinketh nigh, as I would sinketh between thy thigh. I tinketh I taw a tooty tat. I tink a taw a tooty tat. I need a speech therapist. I taw a tooty tat. thought I taught it to the cat. Mm. If you think about it, I taught it to a putty tat is like tat putty was taught. That putty was taught. Backwards, it's like that putty was taught. I think I taught a putty tat is like that, or I taught a putty tat is like that putty was taught. That putty was taught. That putty was taught. Fun. Mm. You know, there's something to be said. For a man's time to himself. Mm-hmm. Tide is drawing out. But how much? Does it draw out before I leave? That's the question. I should leave. I should leave. And now a song that I call I Should Leave by Demi Lovato. I should leave when I look at you. No, it goes, the sun was rising and I turned over in bed. I saw you laying there and I had this song into my head. I should leave. I should leave, you slimy bastard. I should leave. I'll never be with a man who craps himself in his sleep. Who wants to be with a stinky man? Sleep in the same bed as a stinky boy. Ooh. I should leave. And stinky boy should leave me alone. I should leave. Hey, stinky boy. Hey, stinky boy. Stinky, stinky, stinky boy. Let me play with your toy, stinky, stinky. Yeah. got so much shit. Everywhere there's shit. It's like, hey, there's some of my shit. And there's some of my shit. And what do you know? There's some of my shit over there. Wait for someone to be like, hey man, you got a lot of shit, dude. You ever think about reducing the amount of shit you have? It's like, yeah, sure. When I go to the bathroom, and I think about your mama. I think about shitting in her face, like I did one time in 1987. She was sleeping with her mouth open and stuff, remember? After she finished drinking. And I took a deuce right into her mouth. She didn't even skip a beat. She was like, oh, I love brownies. Didn't have a camera back then, so I wasn't able to capture her reaction when she woke up. Or maybe someone saw her and took mercy and cleaned that shit off her face. I don't know. To this day, though, she always looks at me funny. Like she's always got that question on her mind. Who shit in my face? Who would do such a dastardly thing? Him? Who's got that part of their mind deep below the surface of their everyday facade has the capacity to defecate into a sleeping woman's mouth? And then she found my YouTube channel. And then she found this video, and well, got a court date next month. The crime is very interesting. It's called involuntary. I don't know if it is a crime to crap in someone's mouth. I guess it's assault. Some kind. Forcing bodily biological material. It's not really consensual. Although I told the judge that there was a day when she was talking about the fact that I should eat shit and I. And I said, well, turnaround was fair play. And she said, well, she liked that kind of thing anytime. I thought that was consent. I had offer and consideration. Oh, I believe that people can live together in peace and equanimity. I believe that what Oprah Winfrey said in 1995 is right. That it doesn't matter how fat she gets, her heart is in the right place. She can't see her vagina, but you can't see her heart either. And it still works just fine. Oprah Winfrey, you can't see your vagina since 1993. What do you have to say for that? It's like, well, can you see your vagina? Well, no, not right now, but I could look. It's just it's live TV. Well, I can use a mirror and I can see it. Henrietta is doing just fine. I believe I do. Why don't you come with me into my land of belief? And time alone will be our mother's thief. Okay. That wasn't as difficult as it could have been. We could have stuck our cock with a pin cushion. Ouch. You, my friend, have become sacrilegious and so disposable. Consider yourself unanointed. Thus, there was almost no more weed to smoke. And that is when he chose to leave, not because of some sacred turning of the cosmic gyre, but only because he was running out of his green dragon, and would not be appropriately intoxicated and or euthanized for the remainder. That, and the fact that he felt the call of his mother's womb. Oh, for no other womb had been of any great concern to him since he was born. Oh, except perhaps that of his protracted agony, his unremitting ennui. Oh. 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 If this guy masturbates as much as he says he does, I'm surprised he has any time to do anything else. Well, it's like, I'm like Santa Claus. Like, Santa Claus can visit infinite number of houses in one night. I can masturbate 1,000 times a second. It's very quick. You're gonna need like some serious time-lapse photography. It's like, I just did it just now. Oh, did it again. All right, here we go. We're off. Sun's coming out. Different designs. I haven't really walked all day, so I gotta warm up. My feet. Well, it's pretty nice out here. It's gonna take a little time and see how much this tide is out. In case we got the rock. I think it's actually not too bad. We should, since we're gonna have the rocks, but we should have a fair stretch of beach to walk on by the time we get there. I think. I hope we have timed it right. My body feels backwards. I've been sitting around all day. I wish I knew more about stuff. Maybe I should go back to school. When I study. Ouch. It'd be kind of fun to study something like completely different, just to completely take me out of myself. Like, I don't know, do one of those life study classes where some naked chick, you get to draw some naked chick. I did that once, and yeah. The teacher used my particular coal drawing as an example, what not to do. It's like, yay! Oh, just drew what I felt. How could that be wrong? Perhaps I had felt a certain boldness. Position to position. A scream true cunning of her nature. You're giving like a little talk, and it's like people are from feminists are in the audience going, I think there's something wrong with this man. I don't think he trusts women. And yet we're all so completely trustworthy. I mean, didn't he see we have the legitimacy of a vagina that makes us completely honest at all times? It's like a mail slot with a government. A mail slot is never wrong. It's only as corrupted as the things passed into it. Such things have passed in human correspondence as we don't want to ever see. Such things have passed from some human lips to others that we don't ever want to know. But I'm gonna tell you some the worst things I've ever heard. Make your cum run back up the whole tree of life and die where it secreted from the sacred fruit of everything that springeth from heaven. Now I've heard some people say that a child's birth is ridden with death. And I don't think that any of those people know just how much they are wrong. Those lying cunts have nothing left to give their children. Why don't they just jump off a cliff? This song, however, is meant to celebrate the joy and enduring strength of people everywhere. People in the audience are like the centennial of the Queen. It's like, we're a little confused. You have to understand, this artist is known for setting up huge paradoxes in the ebb and sway of his and the collective mindset, never allowing vast sums of people to settle upon one particular determination of whether they're supposed to be happy or sad, so that it forces you to think for yourself in an environment where you're least inclined to do so, creating a tension which will eventually be released by a sudden orgasmic burst of totally creative energy, a triumphal march of such incredible intelligence as leaves people begging for mercy. Has it reached that part yet? No. That'll be in 13 and a half hours. Here, quick, take this. It's a quick, easy amphetamine. Ouch, 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 ouch. Okay, where are we now? Oh, man. So hopefully there's two. Let's see. Actually, there isn't. There should be a fairly interesting place to stop along here. I haven't seen anyone all day. Just the faces coming out of the logs and the trees and stuff. So I really, because that lady and that friend, that guy kind of sexually assaulted me yesterday. I was like, ooh, oh, I think it's getting out of my system. I'm just gonna, yikes, ooh, yeah. Oh, wow, what's a guy to do, eh? One of these days I'm gonna go an entire year without being sexually assaulted. Rhythm. Look at this rock, it's smiling. You see this? This rock is totally smiling. It's like, why would they do that? It looks like Dick Van Dyke. Oh. You hear that seagulls? It sound like dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. Representing the king of marijuana. Yes, everyone. And he's like, I'm really a prince, really. I'm very new to this. I've never even seen the princess naked. Probably because she's my sister and we suffer from generations of incest. Sir, that's too much information, Your Highness. The general population can't handle that. Oh, okay. Yes, I look forward to banging the princess on the eve of St. Crispin and planting in her womb the right of succession. On the day of whose conception, one of your heads will be given up to be eaten in public. Thank you. Was that better, sir, Your Highness? More in keeping with the old days. I miss those times. Now we're more compassionate. It's like millions of you will suffer from a multitude of agonies that will never be connected to your oppression. Thank you. People don't have to suffer. What if people don't have to suffer? Ooh, now we're onto something. I like that. People, a philosophy of knowledge, which is predicated upon the belief that people don't need to suffer. That is compelling. That is worthy of some certain consideration. It's something that I should think about every day for the rest of my life. A new creation. A new dawning. Ouch. I just hurt myself. Plus, I just contracted gonorrhea. I don't think that works well for my philosophy because I keep masturbating every 2 seconds. I think I'm getting a venereal disease from myself. It's nature's way of saying, this is wrong. We implacably stood by to watch the worst excesses of the Roman Empire and the Bush years in the United States. But this is wrong. You masturbate too frequently. Even hummingbirds are going, what the fuck is that? Big stone. Don't fall headlong into it. I'm always preparing for geriatrics, you know? Even though I'm 40, I'm preparing to fall at odd and certain times and crack my head open one day and be like, shit, I wish I wasn't so fucking old, and then I'll be dead. Mild injuries, you can scream and cry and wail. Serious injuries, you just get really quiet. And you start going into shock. Ouch. And you try not to lose consciousness because that's not good. Yeah, so I mean, technically, like if you spend a lot of time by yourself in nature, you should have like paramedics with you at all times. You know, athletes get that. So I try to be. There's no environment to which you can afford to become too accustomed. You know, if you want to rule out the serious chance of serious injury, there's nothing too simple that cannot render you incapacitated. You know, the things you think about laterally are like, you know, predators or people or even weather conditions, and those are all important to their degree, but also any or all of those things, we've got weather, anything that hastens, you know, you've got time deadlines, you got weather, start moving a little more quickly, getting lost, fatigue, anxiety, or even the delirium of happiness that can overcome you when afforded enough of an opportunity to get away from your fellow human beings. How many celebrations of personal liberation have been attended by sudden death? I like to write about these things. I like to proclaim them to the world, that all that greens and grows has known many disturbing beatitudes. Ouch! Part of my body isn't happy about having to do anything. I'll talk to them. Look, I'll stop. Alright, I'm stopping. It's like a child. My left ankle. We're gonna stop, alright? It's alright. No, you're not happy with moving around and basically being an ankle. Instead, you're being like an anklet. An ankle what? A cold, dry place with architectural artifacts that nobody wants to see. Do you want to be on a shelf somewhere in a jar? Or do you want to be with me, the coolest man who ever lived? To be my ankle is an honor. Indeed, it's something that will take you on to the next level of karma. Thank you. Yeah, we're better now. Now, that's not a log you really want to trust. Nope. I don't like that at all. You move too much for my liking. That's what I say to my girlfriends. I don't like women who move too much. Oh, when is the last time I met an attractive woman that I could have a conversation with? 2 syllables. Ne and ver. Maybe Nev Campbell. It's like, Nev, come here, please. Haha, I've never heard that. I love my lovely man. If your penis wasn't so big, I would divorce you. He makes me feel like a virgin every time. Like a virgin. The Nev Campbell story of Mr. Landon. People think I was kidding when I said that he makes me feel like a virgin, but he did. My vagina was continually sore. Just ask my gynecologist. She was constantly assuring me, though, that as long as I was getting incredible and violent pleasure out of it, there was nothing really unhealthy, as long as I kept getting sutured back together. We traveled with a mobile MASH unit. Worked for the Forward Armed Division of the United States 3rd Battalion during the Cold War. Oh! I like the fact that you have to be in shape to be my husband's wife. Love is a war to my husband. You see, he's presided over many incredible conflicts. He's a genius of a strategist, a fearsome warrior, a tender leader, and an even more devoted father. But when he goes to bed with me, it's like he's conducting his greatest war of all. All of his traumas that he can't talk about to the regular people come through his penis. They rip open my uterus. Heaven itself is broken open like a cosmic egg, and his fertility is attended by a rhapsody of quintessence that mollifies the agonies that rip through my body. Then the MASH unit comes in and administers certain anesthetics, puts me out of consciousness, and then sutures me up. And that's how Odin makes love to me. Men are like impressive. Women are like disgusting. And yet I want him. I want him to rip my pussy open like the sky, so that even Lucifer himself can peer down and go, "You're right, it's not worth it." I want to rewrite Christianity in my own perverted style of address. And I want to begin with these words, which I always liked statements that tell people how to use a colon properly. On that note, let us begin by surmising that our foe is none other than the Lord of these people, and his devices, though many, and having had many years to claim even time itself, as though it loomed over the very wombs of their flesh and blood. Now, children, I want 30 pages, no less, by tomorrow morning. You are dismissed. It's my creative writing class for the deaf and the blind. They're very imaginative. The ennui and the melancholy. Yes, I am lonely. Sometimes that's like a triangle. Look at that. A little bit of pumice. A bee. Exciting. Excitement personified in the bumblebee. They are like our aeroplanes in a dimension of ethereal physics all their own. Boom, 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 boopity boom, boopity boom. The world is full of lies. Boopity boom, boopity boom. They try to take our minds. Boopity 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 boom. You're as healthy as you think. Boopity boopity boom. Your daddy has a dink. Doopity. It really had to penetrate into mommy's special place. But don't worry, it was all done with the state's approval. People should love me, be with me, walk with me. Let me know I'm not alone. Let me know my life is purpose, and that I'm somebody, that I'm a contender, that I can walk with pride, knowing that my days of gainful unemployment will always be known, and will leave a legacy of strident advances in the science of human decrepitude. The silence that breaks the violence into many shards of glass, which when put together make the face of the unknown soldier, and he is none other than the mother of our people. What? Gasp! What foul doom is this? What has crept into this mind of yours that you contrive to illustrate such a thing as we should not permit to be known to any man, lest he go mad as Luke Skywalker, who found out that the guy who built not one but 2 entire planets of complete hatred and destruction was none other than his own father. But maybe it was really his mother, who disappeared suspiciously from one of the earlier episodes. After telling her ill-fated son to simply listen to his heart and decide for himself whether his mother really gave a fuck about him at all. Listen to your heart. It's always wrong. And yet it sings a song like this. It's always good to tell yourself that there's nothing else you could have done. The world is owned, and down to your father's bone. Your mother's wombs recede their seed. The foulness of his spunk was fell. And even as you dropped from the dam 'twas hell. And all you knew, because the school could know and yoke you to its fable doom. The altar even of your sex, imagined by your birth such debts as you could never pay, not even if you worked for 1,000 years. Life is a highway, I wanna ride it all night long. I fell here one day. It was not something I cared for. I started speaking strangely after that, as though my brain could not catch up to my lips, and I had to speak more slowly so that they would work at the same time. This is what happens when they don't, and I get so you see. like it when you're silly. They think you're crazy. You sound crazy, you know that. Yes, I do. I'm sorry. Daddy. That's better, Landon. I love you, but you're out of your fucking mind. This is Satan talking to me now. It's like, you are the best man I've ever known, Landon. But the best men sometimes lose their minds. It's not nice to think about it. Even the greatest generals were like, where's my pink carryall? Where's Kitty carryall? Just like that damn little child on the Brady Bunch. But sir, the battle is almost won. We need your final decision. Kitty carryall, or I'm just going to simply masturbate in the battlefield. In a pile of my own shit. If someone heard my laughter, I think nature hears my laughter. I think nature's like, this is one of the good ones. Since when have we had a man like this to roam the earth? What did he do to get doomed to a life of pathetic lassitudes? We love you, Landon. We love you, gay bastard. Here's to all those other gay bastards out there. To the vagina. Damn doomed fucking thing that it is. Mothers, they have vaginas. We know that much, men. Go get them and stuff them like a Thanksgiving turkey. Men, you've been in my school for boys for many years now. You see those women? Go with them and stuff them like a Thanksgiving. Yes, sir. They've heard this speech 1,000 times. You've ruined sex for us. We're all gay. We've been paired off since grade 3. We're married now. You presided over the ceremonies, for fuck's sake. You can leave the pretext of heterosexuality alone. All right, Twiv. You know, Lunker, I'm sorry to your parents. I've made all your children gay. You gave them to me to look after their development, and I turned them gay. I'm so sorry. And your parents are like, no, we thank you. Now our people can go off into the vast, dark oblivion of history and be heard from no more. And all the parents got up there, and they took down their pants, and they pulled up their skirts, and they bent over. And they started shoving things up each other's asses, and I wasn't sure if it was a tribute or it was some kind of mockery. And so I decided to interpret it in the best way, as a sign of respect and thankfulness for all of my hard work. And theirs too, of course, because the parents' job is still very important. I think it's important that parents be honored for all of their diligent support of their children's interest in higher education. My interest in pedagogy, which sounds a little like pederasty, really, started when I was a small boy, attending the Sailors Brigadoon Sea Cadet School for Gay Children. We daily ran up the flag on the mast, and we practiced getting into a small submersible with, kind of like the Titanic, only enough beds for half of the seamen. The yeoman always taught us a song. It was, one of them was, bum buddies are the best. A bum buddy was also a little pillow they gave everyone to sleep with at night when half the seamen were out on shore visiting their parents. Bum buddies, they are always there. When the people that we love are no longer there to care. They're visiting their parents, but we know stuff that they can do for us when they come back. And seriously, when they come to the rear, all kinds of innocence starts to disappear. Even when you hear this song, something sounds terribly wrong. uh, now there's a chance it'll hit your funny bone. Another chance you'll pick up the phone. Call whoever's job it is to put people like me in prison. Prison for people like me. Prison for people like me. A place people like me are supposed to go to make sure nobody else will hear what we have to say. The weird, disgusting suggestions that are worse than everything else in the world. That doesn't hurt any boys or girls. It's all so perfect and never hurts anyone. And people are never violent at all, like they live in a prison made by the crown of Gaul itself. Now, if you don't like my satirical song, you still think something's really wrong, maybe you should just look in the mirror and tell me, can I make it any clearer? Oh, that's not nice. Landon, when did you get to be so mean? I don't know. Maybe since I had the rest of my life to talk to myself because I don't have any friends. And the ones that I had, I spent my entire life trying to get rid of them. And now I'm here by myself, talking to you. People who have nothing better to do than listen to me. Which, let's face it, that can't be good. I'm trying to think how far my thumb would go up my own ass. Maybe I did that. Did I do it earlier? I forget. I smoked too much weed. No, I think we're good. I want to practice for the Queen's birthday. I like the popping sound that it makes when I pull it out like a cork. Salute the Queen. Freedom. The free dome. Maybe it refers to the freedom of the mind, the free mind, or maybe the dumb, like a condom for freedom. Freedom is like a condom. Covers up what is free and calls it freedom. It dumbs the freedom, like a cunny, a cunny dummy, a condom. Condoms were originally called condoms, or things that dumb down the cunt. Now they're condoms, not condoms. We changed the U to an O, condom from the condom. because you owe. Either way. You woe. You woe. Right? And you got the word woe. You woe. O. O-W-E. So they've even used, like, I think the signal of the letter O and the number 0 have been corrupted to represent negative things. So 0 as in nothing, even when it kind of means everything. And O, like the letter O, means like to have to pay something because you were born. It's like you were bone. Your bone owes things. Even if you own something, you owe something. You owe what you own. Truly, you do. You owe what you own. Your home is something you owe. But if you owe it because you own it, you can own it even though you owe it. Where it is owed, it can be owned. Where we owe the world trillions of dollars, perhaps we own trillions of dollars. Perhaps we hold the debt, for the debt is based on us. We can turn this witchcraft around, generate some real money. Generate money by truly liberating human flesh and blood. A knowledge of happiness in the nature of our origins. Do-do-do, do-do-do, do-do-do. You're not born to suffer. You're not born to suffer. I, of all people, should learn that. I've got to stop suffering. No more suffering. I'm going to generate money. I got to stop suffering. If nothing else, I should ease my suffering by generating money. I was thinking, my thoughts are going to these things these days. I'm thinking about my Uncle Vic and how much money he left to his children. And I thought, well, that's pretty nice. You know? Leaving money to your children and stuff. I was like, I'd like to generate money without suffering. So if I had to stop suffering to generate money, that would at least be worth it. That'd be a job I'd be willing to do. I could stop suffering. That would be my job. And I'd be like, here's a philosophy about human origins where we don't have to suffer. Here's what we can do. Here's the things we can change in our thinking, because I've looked at different aspects of human thought and found discrete spheres of thinking, spheres around our own body, around our own voices, where we could make adjustments without really having to do much to the world. Subtle changes in thinking, because if everything's based on our flesh and blood, money grows on our family trees, then we own what we owe. When money is based on debt, well, we own that debt, and we own that flesh and blood, and we own that money. Because it's all based off of us. It's based off of our belief. It wants to be based off of our birth. It has languages as though making many cursed claims as though by our own mother tongue. And that's a very ambitious witchcraft, but the truth is always there. When you say she, you don't mean he, but yet the word is there. So there's a tension. Is it a she or is it he? And if it's a he, is it also a she? It's androgynous. It's ambiguous. It's as though unborn. It's as though dead. Because something that isn't distinctive in its sex is dying. Because your sex is what allows you to live long. Virility and long life are connected. You have to be very sure whether you're the pin or the cushion. I'm getting a call to just try laying down on the ground for a second. So essentially what nature is telling you is that you generate money from the human mind because there's so much power and there's so much investment in the human mind that the human mind in all of its influence over the earth is the currency of a lot of human life is in the human mind. And to have sway over the sun, to have sway over the meaning of the sun or the beauty of the sun or the beauty of the world. Just, if someone just sort of spent their life talking about the beauty around them, could they generate money from that? Could you generate money from just enjoying laying in the grass every day? We're like, today I'm going to lay in the grass over here, everyone. Pay me money. Because lo and behold, a lot of people they'd rather just watch someone lay in the grass than do it themselves. Or something, Like they'd rather watch people have sex than do it themselves. Because in many respects, I listen to porn because I don't want to do that. I'm going to watch someone else do it, and pretend to like it. being very good to me today. Peace out here, peacefulness. Trying to get into that quintessence. The origins of a world without suffering. The quintessence of life. We think of happy things because they are filled with quintessence. We labor over sad things because they too can help preserve the quintessence that we would know, but that we need to confront those things from which even the quintessence, the happiness of life itself, retreats from and recoils from. And when the world does that to the quintessence in our minds, and does that to our minds, and does that to our language and our people, and this is what we do. This is what we do. The world is not right. Every child in the world should be able to do what I'm doing right now, every day. I know little boys can just quietly walk around like this without even marijuana. No laziness here. Let's honor our parents. Let's honor their labors by enjoying the restful quietness in which they live. Do you think that any of our parents get what they earn through everything that they sacrifice? And even if they sacrificed us or our freedom, or made the mistake of lending their labors to such a maudlin attempt at freedom, is to rather betray our confidence than to that my parents might be said to rightly lack any confidence in the fruitfulness of my life, that I am not nearly as gainfully employed as were they, irrespective of what I have to say about how they've influenced my mind. And like a religion, didn't do much to help many of the things that attended the extraordinary lengths to which my generations of my family have gone to pay the bills, and many of whom are quite wealthy today, but I'd rather give them rest. I just think if I had to add some value to whatever I was doing out here, it's like I could give my own family some rest, at least give my father some peace. At least, look, there's a caterpillar. That's not something you normally see on the rocks out here. How did you get there? And do you want to stay there? That's neat. I guess I'll let them be. The family coming out there, and they're all over 200 pounds. That's great. What a beautiful day. The wind is nice. It ministers to me. Ministers. I'm used to having a hat on. There's a feather in the stone. There's a feather in the stone. Pick up good information. A nice looking stone. It's got a tone of information. Use your mouth and make a sound, 'cause even stones have a tone of information, inspiration. They have a sacred place in creation, and everything that has a sacred place has a sound, has a sign, and a pattern that it makes, and the bull horns and the bones of steel and the wooden flanks of a mighty keel. And the stones of information, I just thought of something. Let me get that up. That looks like a pretty good way there.
Huh?
That looks like a pretty good way through there.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, yeah.
It's not coming in, right?
It's going out actually still.
Oh, is it going out? Okay.
Yeah, but not a bad guess though. Yeah. Information. The only reason I know so certainly the tide's going out is because I've been here all day. So I know what it's doing. I know what it's doing. A couple more hours makes me wanna touch myself and scream and shout. I don't think it could get worse than the hours that you're working by and you're dying by. I suggest you get your money and run, run, run. Like the steel 1,000-powered, multi-powered kind of gun. You gotta good. You gotta get out good. Get out of Dodge and run. Every fucking bone that hang on the roof of the place where you were for the big honcho in the sky. He's got a cannibal eye. I'm looking up the tailpipe of everything that ever pushed out the gravel, and the gavel on the bench makes a kind of winch out of every little inch that you wanted to get back. Serious pilfering labors that you made for your gods, made a kind of tribute out of stuff that you know you can't use. You just use it from abusing, and you're making all excuses for making a time with a thing like a slimy red and cunt of a loom. Doom you don't need, doom you don't need. Suffering that ain't never been the kind of world that was born like a girl. Such a lovely place, as we should have to keep it safe from the motherfucking bankers, all the fucking wankers that have done a huge hell of a motherfucking job, making up a stage for a constant sacrilege of a motherfucking flesh and blood of every swinging dick. The pages of a history with a long fucking way and a bomb that has a wicked blast on the mind. Generations of human beings sacrificed on the altar of the stage of history. Rolling Stone magazine interviews me and goes, just wondering, some of our listeners and some of our readers were wondering, what the fuck are you talking about half the time? That's a good question, Rolling Stone. My name's not Rolling Stone, it's the name of our magazine. Mr. Stone, you don't understand. Nothing about this world makes sense to me, alright? You don't make sense to me? Your fucking shagged little fake goatee there, the ponytail in your hair. I'm sure you're some big shit, but quite frankly, I wouldn't wipe my ass with most of what you call your career. Are we clear? He's like, Crystal. He's picked up on the fact that I like a few good men, and I'm probably a little bit gay. He's getting into it. He's a professional. consummate. I like his aquiline features. I like to pretend he's Matthew McConaughey masquerading as a reporter for Rolling Stone. I'm like, Mr. McConaughey, I mean Mr. Stone. My name is Doug Nautilus, Mr. Nautilus. That's a good name. Kind of like Deadless Nautilus. I like to deadheader with you. You know what I'm saying? I don't. But that's the purpose of this discussion, to find out what you mean. Exactly. That's what I mean. I don't understand anything, man. All I understand is that I'm having a brokeback mountain moment with you right now. Seriously, I would do it on camera. And I didn't say that. I'm like Dick Cheney. I can totally deny things I absolutely said on television. Ask me, go ahead. Did you just say you wanted to do me? It's like, no, I didn't. I never said that. Oh, I mean, I didn't mean you. I meant like, you. Like you people. Like your entire family. Really your mother. I want to do your mother. Well, she's been dead for 3 years. Well, dig her up. Dig her up. I dig dead people. You know what I'm saying? Like that little boy sees dead people. I dig them. Imagine if Bruce Willis had tried to molest that little boy. It'd be the first pedophilia between heaven and earth. Ghost raped me, and then he'd have to be like, you'd see this empty box, and then he'd be like, is he in the box? He is. Would you raise your right hand, Mr. Invisible Ghost? Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth? And he was like, and the little boy was like, he did. I heard him. I see dead people. Dead people raped me. And the ghost lives in prison, even though he could walk through the wall at any time. And there's like a bunch of other dead people in prison, and they could leave at any time, but they're just walking around like ghosts. And then this little boy comes in the prison system and is like, I see dead people. And also, I eat Count Chocula. Look, it's been a long day's and I've been working like a dog. Now, who's had a long day's night? Who's been working like a dog, as in the doggy position? I like to apply the doggy position. Now, there's a woman with a sense of humor. Which would be interesting desirous if you got to know my penis. More like a prerequisite for knowing the real me. Wow, this looks like a difficult little umbrage. Tiananmen Square, where that poor little Chinaman squared off with a chick that was ready to turn him into tomorrow's swanky little entree local seafood shop. Well, it's like every restaurant in China is a Chinese restaurant. Out here it's like, hey, I want Chinese food. Yeah, in China, it's all Chinese food. Like, you gotta go to a Chinese restaurant and ask yourself, do you want to eat this every day for the rest of your life? And it's like, it's not really Chinese food. I mean, it's crap. Even the people cooking it are Chinese, don't eat it. So, I don't know. You never really get a taste of China. You just really have to go there. I guess that's why they invented planes. And MapQuest is It's like Fing Dong Dang, MapQuest is like, it's so advanced, but it won't speak to you in English because damn you, it's communist. If you want English, pay $1,000. Okay. This is the partially released English version. First Avenue. Left on. You're like, fuck these communists. They can't do anything right. We are automatically calling the Communist Bureau of International Police. You cannot swear at the Chinese Communist government. You only get one warning, or we're taking away your chopsticks. Which, by the way, you can't even use anyway, you slick, slimy white cunt. I lost my feather. It was so exciting now. Walking through the salty brine. Navigating the quagmire of my own ill-fated mind. As though they were somehow related. Kinesiological consummation that doesn't require any vaginas. A way to live life without employment or vaginal entry. I think it can be done. Not even a vaginal entry position. Get into the entry position. If the plane starts to falter, get into the entry position. That's right. The same thing you're in when you're paying your taxes, going to church, or watching television. Your brains know what that means. Oh, I can't wait for the future. It's going to be so interesting. Just think your children's children will be listening to me on the radio. But now, everyone, an hour of soothing tones from Granddaddy Nowoski. Hello, everyone. You know Hitler? Well, I think he was a lovely man. And that even today he would say, as I would say, I'm dreaming of a supremely white Christmas, just like the ones I used to know, where the treetops listen and children listen to hear sleigh bells in the snow. Da, 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 da. Do you hear sleigh bells in the snow job? It's like the biggest snow job in the world, right? Sleigh bells, the bells of May, the sleigh bells. You gotta take a deep breath on that one. And then I want to get that song, and then I want to layer in kill the Jews, or whatever Einstein was talking about. Sorry, Hitler. Sorry, Walt Disney. Sorry, Father Callahan. No, sorry. There's just so many different aliases in the schizophrenic mind of God. I like to tune. They should have like channels for the schizophrenic personalities of the world. I want to hear Julia Roberts. Oh, what about Juliette Binoche? Obama? Jerry Seinfeld? There's many facets to their grand personality racket. Look at this, a birdie on a pole. Yeah. Oh, you look beautiful. Look at how aerodynamic they are. They're better than airplanes. They're absolutely amazing. Hi. We're together now. A bird breathes. We are both breathers of the air. And you, more than I, your wonderful black feathers. My children can see you now, as I can see you. Here with my 48 years I've had, with the sun moving around the earth, and the stars which I know not, presiding over the many ministrations of my mind, and me to myself, and none else or other, that I would be the mother of my mind. And father of my time. Farewell now, O great winged creature, whose spirit so great and true has born from that so green and black and blue, and from these ethers to those that without relent, that none this life was lost, 'twas spent. Whoosh, go now, thy feathered friend, and tweet the song of May. What extraordinary sound. And the crowds of crows and their crowing. Yes, what a beautiful song that bird made. Oh, I think that bird sang back to me. Oh my goodness. That was beautiful for the heart. Oh. Dee 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 dee. I'm tired. Oh yeah, okay. Ocean travels. Wow, did she actually throw it that far? That's insane. Ocean travels out, and I am me. That bird was so beautiful. The mother of my mind and the father of my time. The mother of my mind and the father of my time. Mother of my mind and the father of my time. It sounds like a strange choir musical. The mother of my mind and the father of my time. The mother of my mind and the father of my time. The mother of my mind and the father of my time. The mother of my mind, the father of my time, and the labors of my people found enough of a rest to make them soundly. Mother of my mind, the father of my time, the mother of my mind, and the father of my time, the labors of my people found a compensation if I hate them sound. Ooh, the mother of my mind and the father of my time, and the mother of my mind, the father of my time, that the many labors of my people found for fruits of labors that keep them sound. The father of my time, the mother of my mind, the father of my time, the mother of my mind, the father of my time, Hey, mother of my mind, the father of my time, mother of my mind, the father of my time. Oh God, mother of my mind, the father of my time, mother of my mind, the father of my time, mother of my mind. The father of my time, how many labors of my people found the church and the steamboat, the mother of my mind, the father of my time, the mother of my mind, the father of my time, the father of my time, mother of my, the father of my time, mother of my mind, father of my time, the many labors of my people found the church and the sacred steeple, the mother of my mind, the father of my time, mother of my mind, the father of my time. I like to make my words in kind, the mother of my mind and the father of my time. Okay, that's enough. I got a stone here that would make your back turn a shiver blind. I got Junebug and a hot tin. Sorry. And lo and the Peter, I put it down by the log over there where I can find it again. Ooh, there's a face with like a little cat, like whiskers and stuff, saying, "Ooh, look at me. You're seeing things in driftwood." And don't fuck the driftwood, you let the driftwood fuck you. That's what I say. I sat on the driftwood today and I felt like it felt good. It felt like when I was climbing the rope at your place. And I prepared a speech for someone who thought I was fucking the wood. I said, I don't fuck the wood. I let the wood fuck me. It'd be like a little wisdom for you from a troll of the west coast of BC. I wonder if like Elvis Presley could have been Adolf Hitler. Like, 1 for the money, 2 for the show. Get all those ovens up ready to go. Break out your blue suede shoes. They're made from the skin of all a bunch of Jews. This is why I don't book my act at the local pub, because you can't get drunk enough to laugh at these jokes. It's like, that's not funny, man. Jerry Seinfeld is Jewish. Jewish kind of means death wish. Death Wish 1, starring Charles Bronson. Hey, this mustache is very American. I look like some kind of French lieutenant from a film noir. I get it straight like this with lactic acid. I know what you're thinking. I do. I know what's going through that mind of yours. Like Wagner through the human rat race. I know what's going through. I know what's pumping through your veins. You're thinking, what do you do with this man? How do you contain him and categorize him? How does he use his incredible genius to solve the energy crisis? E equals mc squared. The energy crisis in 3 letters. Well, actually 4 letters. E equals mcc. Which is like, what is mcc? It's like, what date would that be? 1,200? One for the money, 2 for share room for the show. 3 to get right now, 4 to go. To go. Go to. 4 to go. Four to go. A new film by Charles Bronson. I'm going to have to go to Fortigo. It's the name of a police precinct at the edge of Babylon. They need me to solve a murder of police women who are found with their badges shoved into their uterus. I'm interviewing suspects who are known cop haters and notorious misogynists. One of them has a YouTube channel. Sir, I have to ask you a few questions. Well, my camera's going to be running. That's okay. Have you killed any female police officers, lady? And if so, how did you do it? You mean, do I know details about the crime which no one will ever know except the killer themselves? Perhaps. What do you mean? Well, I once made a video. It has certain details in it. Someone might have found those details and copycatted them, knowing that you would eventually treat me as your number 1 suspect, having authored some material about the murder of female police officers in the area in a particularly violent way. That was an offense not only to the uniform, but to a woman's uterus. But the word itself says you tear us. It's like telling babies, like, you tear us, man. You tear us apart. You tear us in 2, which is why we have 2 minds, which is why we're called a woman or a mother. Because they're 2-minded bitches. And I found the police women speak with a particularly bad version of a forked tone. I just gave it a 3rd time, you know what I'm saying? 3 times is the 4 times is the salad fork. Julia Roberts figured that out before she sent that little sucker snail sailing across the restaurant, and the nice man caught it and said, happens all the time. She was like, wow, they're really friendly here. Even though they're really rich and stuff, they're some of the nicest people in the world. That a prostitute with Richard Gere is treated like a princess. And that's what every girl wants to be. A prostitute that gets into a Lotus and finds a man whose stick is not really hard yet, but it has potential. I always wanted to write for Mad Magazine. You know, when you talk about these movies, like, they're really, really quite gross. Like TV, everything is like, it's actually quite gross when you think about it.